Hello again, Grown Black Folks Talk. The video I intended to do in the park, but if you listen to the last story time, you know why that didn't happen. And if you don't know why that didn't happen, you will soon. The less you mess around, the less you have to find out. Now, that is the Sunday school edited version of a statement that is very popular. There is a GIF that a subscriber of mine posted in a different forum, and it had a man drawing a chart between F around and find out. And he drew lines connecting different points. He said, so the thing is, the more you F around, the more you have to find out, or the more you're gonna find out. Well, I looked at that and said, well, okay, if this is true, the corollary, the inverse must also be true. The less you mess around, the less you have to find out. Shout out to Tiff, who posted that gift that started this train of thought. Now, I could not go into this in the park because I see this in the Black community coming down in a particular way. Black people in general, this is true of men, women, and children, because I used to teach in public school. So I see this a lot in children as well. So to make this very short, a lot of us have a problem with authority because in the Americas it didn't start right. We did not come here in the hands of holy authority in terms of earth. And many Black people struggle with God, whatever form you choose to conceive of him as for the sake of this discussion, because whatever gods there may be, they allowed that to happen to our people. Generally, it comes out against the God of the Bible, who is presumably the predominant God worshipped in Europe and in the United States at that time, although that's demonstrably not true. Christendom and Christianity are two different things. If y'all need to know about it, then I'll put the link to the um, September to Remember Bible study going through the first 10 chapters of the book of Acts. What is practiced commonly in America and in Europe is not Christianity. It's Constantinianism. When you want to know what Christianity is, you need to read the first 10, 12 chapters of Acts. I'll put that in the description as a resource because I can't deal with that here. But just understand that our problems with authority start there and then come because we were raised around people who had come to an age where they were our parents, our grandparents, our aunts, and our uncles, but they had seen a bad model of authority and they had trauma. So go on down the line, they were in slavery, meaning they had first no authority. Their children could be sold away from them at any time. What did you teach your children? How to survive slavery. And they taught their children and they taught their children for generations. Then when slavery ended, what you end up finding out then is that the trauma didn't go away. There's no therapy. There's no life coaching for Black folks in 1865. You still have to survive as you can. So down to the present hour, which is the first hour that Black people in a position well, we can discuss, and we're still arguing about whether or not to go to therapy or life coaching. I'm also going to put resources for that in the description. We are the first generation to have resources and access on a large level. Now, whether or not people choose to do it is a different conversation, and I'll come to that. It folds into what the rest of what I'm going to say. But we have challenges with authority because we've had to deal with so many bad models. So even when we are dealing with a decent or even a good model, it can be harder for us than for others. Side note to the side note, it is also difficult because we do not see even good authority doing anything about the fact that our ancestors did all this work and every other group of people beside ourselves is first in line to receive the benefits in the United States of America. And we, having done all that fundamental labor, are still at the back of the pack. That makes it hard to establish trust with existing authority. However, part of the difference in the outcome between Black men and Black women since 1865 and why, if you take out the Black male athletes and how well they're paid, how you're going to increasingly see that money is going to be more in the hands of Black women as time goes forward, because you have about 700 outliers. But if you take out those multimillionaire athletes and you take out those multimillionaire entertainers, that number is much, much closer to even. In fact, it's pretty close to even now. But you take them out, the number becomes even. And because big organizations such as Goldman Sachs are putting capital into Black women right now, that number is going to flip and it's going to broaden out. Why? Black men talk a great deal nowadays, not all, but several who are in the social media about wanting women to be submissive. And it turns out that women generally of every race are submissive, but they tend to be submissive to men that have systems in place to provide and protect for them. And it just so happens in the United States of America that when it comes to system building, other men are way ahead. So Black women are submitting to systems that provide them provision and protection, and they happen to be run primarily by Black men, not by Black men, but Asian, white men, and increasingly Asian men in the world, and in some countries, Latino men. The whole Hispanic world. If y'all follow Stephanie Perry, shout out to Stephanie Perry, and the Exodus Network, you will find that people are moving into Black men are moving into Latin America and into the islands. So you have a number of Latino men of different areas who are setting up, who have countries set up whereby Black women feel they can live safely. Spain to a point, Portugal in particular. So now we're talking about actual Europeans, Spaniards, and Portuguese. Then, you know, we're going to talk about Germans and French. So we're looking at groups of men who have built systems. Also, when we talk about things like blockchain, and we talk about even before that, major tech moves in the late 19s and early 20s that have taken place. These systems that Black women are able to plug into are things that are systems that provide protection. And because it is more likely for a woman to be willing to work with whoever provides her security, it is easier for women to tap into existing systems that have proven results. It's easier for a woman than a man. Now, some Black men will set up and call Black women traitors and sellouts for working with what exists. Here's the problem. And this is why I didn't say this in the park with these four middle-aged men who looked like some of my cousins who never figured this out. I didn't want to be unnecessarily offensive. And as I went into in the last video, I recognize, again, shout out to and thanks to Transmutation Reset Training, to remind me that many of you maybe want me to do the things necessary to protect myself and not get caught up. Because remember, the less you mess around, the less you have to find out. Didn't want to be offensive to them, but I've seen my cousins going through this. I've seen men that I went to school with go through this. The problem is, if you go out into the world with the idea that you don't want to be submitted to any other man in any other man's system, you lose the opportunity to learn how good systems operate opposed to bad systems. I keep saying this. It is amazing to me. JT Automations, Marine Corps veteran. Stephanie Perry, I think U.S. Army veteran. In my own personal circle, men who are veterans and merchant marines are doing everything around here. People who understand how to work with the unit. And there's another thing. There's also enlisted men versus officers. Officers come out having to be able to lead men. So they get different kinds of training, but they're both working in the same unit. Learning how to operate within a system is essential to being able to build effective systems of your own. There is no good commander. There is no good leader who also at one time was not a faithful follower. Because you have to learn. Now, that's one kind of experience. But unfortunately, a lot of our men, and unfortunately, increasingly number of women, want to mess around and find out. I know so many, I do not entertain these men, but I know of so many Black men in their 40s, 50s, and 60s who finally matured enough to get a steady job. But having done that in their 40s and 50s and their 60s, that means that their time to build systems of their own is extremely limited because they're doing in their 40s and 50s and 60s what they could have done in their 20s and been building systems of their own in their 30s. Mess around and find out. And then what happens is you start to run out of time. And then you try to do things at the last minute that you had your entire lifespan to do, and you find out that the world and the way things have to be built are not going to adjust to you. Here I am, 41, learning how business is actually done and who sells on Amazon and who sells things in the world and who doesn't. And knowing that even if a prominent Black man such as Shaquille O'Neal is selling wolf tickets talking about Black people don't eat pretzels, I'm like, sir, with all your athletic accomplishments and all your accomplishments as an entertainer, do you not know that nobody knows what anybody buys until you've done market research? Now, look, there's a reason people pay other people to do market research. It's a bear. If you're a creative person, if you are an active person, It's like that, y'all. It just mentally, it's tough. Okay, I understand that. But again, it has to also do with, do you have you submitted to enough good systems to learn them? Because here's the other thing about it. Black young women who try to mess around and find out, we have a better sisterhood and motherhood. Stephanie Perry, Mocha Mommy, Black Women Making Money, and I are gonna come get you. We'll come get you. Level Up Single Mom, we'll come get you. You know, there'll be a way for you to plug back in. And again, because women are naturally more inclined to submit in places where there is a system that clearly and reliably is providing provision and protection, a woman can fall in and learn at pretty much any age if she has not been too damaged and too embittered. Because the flip side of this, of course, is Black men want to mess around and then find out. All this submission that they want from Black women cannot happen, because if they are not learning how to work in and then to build reliable systems in their 20s and their 30s, then they have nothing for anyone to submit to in their 40s, their 50s, and their 60s. And even if they figure it out in their 50s and their 60s, here's another problem. They put so much strength in their physical prowess, and unfortunately, we all have to get old. We all have to get old. So then they start coming to church looking for church women who are desperate, but increasingly they're gonna meet women like me. Who are like, oh, we read in 1 Corinthians chapter 7. It's okay for us to be single and serve the Lord. We do not need you and your tired, worn out, reprobate self coming up here pretending to be a Christian to try to catch on. No, thank you. That's gonna be the increasing reality as well. COVID changed the game. However, and the tragedy is, Mocha Mom in her latest video, which I gotta find and put in this description also, talked about how many Black men have situations in which Black women are really there to help them and going to bat for them because they don't know how to treat a woman correctly. They don't have any respect. Then when smack hits the fan, then nobody goes to bat for them because nobody else is. White women are not going to go to bat for you like that. White men certainly are not. Latino and Asians are like, who are you? You've been in this country, your ancestors been in this country and did all this, and you in this situation? No, move over. We're going to take your spot. And this is why when Black men are out here picking on Black women, this is why the more you mess around, the more you're going to find out. But the reverse is also true. The less you mess around, the less you have to find out. Something that we all need to do is learn to listen to wisdom wherever it may be found. As I posted in my story time, one of the reasons I made sure I would get home safely is because I actually listened to other women who are talking about the real situation between Black men and Black women right now. And I have accepted that finding a Black man who's like my father may not be possible, and even expecting common courtesy as my father would give anyone is may not be possible from what I go through in my own neighborhood with the few Black men here. But there's plenty of other men who speak and say hello and ask how they can help me, and will pick whole trees for me and have long conversations and talk about their dogs, their cats, the latest sports thing, and just have time and give me big smiles as I come by with my radiant self. Plenty of other men here. And another time I'll talk about, even though I'm single, occasionally I'll meddle and talk about, okay, standards and preferences and how I've discovered some things about myself during COVID-19 that would have made it difficult for me to be married to a Black man anyway, who is acculturated in the normal way. But it would make it difficult for me to be married to any American man who's acculturated in the normal way. So it's not just about Black men, it's just about, I'm not an American consumerist. But see, here's the thing, God be praised. I've always known, don't mess around and you don't have to find out. I'm a 41-year-old virgin because I didn't mess around. So I didn't have to find out by experience what it would be like to try to be having a life and a family with a man who just wasn't ready for that. So, in conclusion to this train of thought, channels like this, JT Automations, Black Men Making Money, Mocha Mommy, Level Up Single Mom, they'll be in the description. I'm also going to put Mocha Mommy's channel in there. Shout out again to Transmutation Reset Training, too. Listen to wisdom. If you're being warned And there are stats to back up certain things that are going on in the community. Don't say it's not going to happen to me. Use tactical good sense. Learn about learn about the systems that are available for you to learn about. If you get an opportunity to learn how to do market research, you get an opportunity to learn how Amazon actually works. If you get an opportunity to learn how systems actually work, don't get stuck on talking about, well, that's just what the white man is doing. Learn about it, because until Jesus comes, I got bad news for you. Until Jesus comes, the white man's going to be in charge of this world. The children of Ham had their turn. The children of Shem have their turn. It's Jacob's turn. It is what it is. Ain't nothing anybody going to do about it. So learn how to be in the world. Shameless plug for the Sobering October Bible Study. We're going to be coming out with our love of the world versus love of the Father video soon. It's just that lesson is a little bit more complicated than I thought. Learn how to be in the world, but not of it. But learn how it is that there are systems that will benefit you to learn them. Don't think I ain't going to do that and mess around and find out. Because the less you mess around, the more you listen to wisdom, the less you have to find out. That acting a fool is about to get you destroyed in the times we have coming up. The less you mess around, the less you have to find out. All right. Y'all have a good day now. Don't mess around and find out. Goodbye. Thank you for listening.